welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. The Crusaders have won. Every week I introduce them. What's happened to the Crusaders? What's happened to the Crusaders? Well, the Crusaders are back and there's a big smile on Bryn Hall's face. We'll get to that in just a moment. But we've got a few things for you. There's some upsets. Obviously, the Crusaders beating the Chiefs. In Sydney, the Tars went down. In Brisbane, the Reds went down. Upsets are plenty in Super Rugby over the weekend. The Hurricanes land, they just continue, but Cam Roigard down. What does that mean for the halfback stocks? And we can find out, I suppose, later in the week about Roigard's future, but that's very concerning for the All Blacks considering the form that he is in. Rain in La Toca. Goodness me, was it a swimming pool or a rugby field? Your emails, your YouTube comments. Of course, we've got this courtesy of Player Sports to give away to one of the questions that comes in from all of you and the tipping comp as well. With no further ado, Bryn Hall, very happy man, picked the Crusaders, got the Crusaders win. You must have been stoked at the end of that.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was a great night knowing that I could come on the Monday or the Tuesday and just be able to be really excited with the opening that you've just done, Ross. So, thoroughly enjoyed the result, and we'll go into a little bit more. But yeah, I guess to get a few more points on you boys on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod table as well with 5 wins this week. It was a huge week for me, and very, very happy sitting over here in Japan at the moment.
Oh yeah, he's scored his way back, but he's still behind us, Ross, so just keep chipping away.
Obviously, a lot changed. They looked like the Crusaders of old. I don't know if to say the Crusaders we all know and love, because I'm not sure that we all love them, but certainly they looked like the Crusaders of old. Yeah,
it did, and I think there are a lot of, positives that they were able to accumulate through the duration of that match. I think the set piece, Jim will probably touch on that a lot more, but operating 13 out of 15, very early doors percentage-wise, a lot higher. It's probably for the first time of this season, they won the penalty count. They had 2 in the first half, which was pretty important, accumulating that 22 points in the first half. And I think also defenders beaten 13. The Chiefs had 15, obviously, but then 10 line breaks and 7 Chiefs, which we just haven't been accustomed to seeing with their attack throughout the year. It's been clunky, but to have those kind of numbers in that first half to, build those points and have some confidence in their first half was really, really good. But I think also defensively, yes, they operated at 86%, but I think the amount of high line speed pressure that they were able to put on the Chiefs consistently, getting them to turn in was a lot. You look at McNichol's try, could have gone for 7 points, but he's in that space, and a lot of times their wingers in that game and even their midfielders were going hard out the back to try and nullify that Chiefs attack. So yeah, a lot of positives, but I guess the good thing for them now is to be able to go through the bye. They're going to get the cavalry back, and hopefully now, with the 4 Australian teams coming next, they can accumulate some points moving forward and hopefully, sneak into that top 8.
Jibber, do you see that happening?
Based on the weekend, yes. I don't think the Chiefs played too poorly. I think the Crusaders just got their mojo back. They got their kicking strategy on point. I think, as Bryn mentioned, set piece, 46% against the Blues, 87%. I know they're 100% sort of line-out team, but 87% is a hell of a lot better than where they were the week prior. And then I just think there's their clinical self. So for so long, we've talked about these 22-metre visits, and we've sort of used the Crusaders as a benchmark. And so 5 tries out of 8 visits into the 22 against a really strong Chiefs side. Let's not underestimate. Yes, they didn't have Damien there, but pretty much everyone else was there ready to rock and roll. And I think it's the sort of game that will give the Crusaders confidence, and then they're not going to have the home run like they used to. They're going to probably more likely going to have to do it away from home, but I'm pretty sure every team that finishes higher up doesn't want to get there.
We talked about that last week, Bryn, the scary prospect of the Crusaders coming in 7th or 8th and what that could mean for the top couple of teams. They put them on notice pretty badly on the weekend.
They're still going to be able to get the wins. I know it's only one result, but the Australian teams, with how competitive they have been, they've got a couple of games overseas as well, which we probably haven't travelled well on this year going overseas. So I think they'll be happy with the statement that they had against the Chiefs, knowing that they had to be desperate against the Chiefs, but they've got to accumulate those things. And the biggest thing that I enjoyed watching them was actually their attack. And Jim talked about their kicking game. They got a lot of gain out of their kicking game, but I think, and especially in the second half, they beat them a lot. You look at George Bell's try, the animation of actually everybody in sync, the back ball out to Hoihepa, and then you're running into space with George Bell, and I think it was Jamie Hanna or Quinton Strain running that, but then the 2 guys out the back with McNichol and Levi Moore all engaged, which we just haven't seen with the Crusaders. So, I think they're their face-play shit was a lot better on the weekend, racing into space as well. But I think for them, it's been able to build confidence and been able to, I guess, replicate that moving forward and continue to keep getting better like all the other New Zealand teams are when it comes to the attacking game of the side.
Seeing a hooker in full flight like that, Jipper, it must have made you pretty happy.
God, he looked glorious through that gap, didn't he? Just nice little downline and some raw pace. Everyone knows George has a massive future. He got called over for that South African game for the World Cup as cover. Jace Ryan's a big fan, so you know he is going to wear black at some point, whether it's this season or not. Maybe not, but I think the experiences he's getting now, he's probably used to winning pretty much every time he hits on the field. These experiences will hold him in really good stead and develop him mentally. And as we know, once you go up higher in the grades, mentally is the mental side of the game is probably the harder side of the game versus the skill set. So he was outstanding and a big factor in their ability to stop the flow, I suppose, from the Chiefs set piece. Like we sort of focus on theirs and how accurate they were, but they held the Chiefs to 80% at line-out time. They put good pressure on at scrum time, and George is a big part of that. It was a great night out, and nothing better than seeing a hooker in open space gassing fullbacks and wingers. Happy days in my book.
Not underestimating Noah Hogan's performance as well, Jip. There's a lot of halfbacks that have been playing really well throughout this competition, but with Mitchell Drummond going out late in the piece to then come on and put a performance, so I thought he was very instrumental in how the Crusaders attack was able to open up very early on, taking the short side, obviously sets up 2 tries very early doors to be able to have the momentum and confidence within the Crusaders attack. So look, he also had 14 tackles. I don't know, Jim, maybe since I've left, halfbacks in general now are making 14 to 15 tackles in the game now. So
it's interesting you say that because he did his development year with the Highlanders because he was studying down there. And one of the biggest things that came out of his experience down there is they said he spent a hell of a lot of time with Aaron Smith around the pass, but he spent a hell of a lot of time with Folau Fakatava around his defence. The kid loves to tackle. Like he enjoys that collision area. So, if you look at 2 players, if he can mould himself on the strengths of both Aaron Smith and Folau Fakatava, I think, speaking of big futures, he certainly would have one.
The big future could be sooner than you think, because when we see Cam Roigard going down for the Hurricanes, and he looked in quite a bit of pain, I understand through this week you'll see a specialist and we'll find out more about it, but his knee injury could shake things up, Bryn. How do you see the 3 halfbacks in the All Blacks this year looking, considering Aaron Smith isn't there, considering Cam Roigard, might not be there either?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think knowing that Nuggy's gone now, you would have thought Cam Roigard would have been there within the 3 halfback stocks. But I think Finlay Christie comes into contention now. I think more so around that number 9 role and being a starter, considering with the performance that he's putting together and the experience that he's had in that team, probably being the most experienced out of the new cab off the ranks. Then you've got obviously TJ Perenara, who I think now is going to be able to play a lot more and I guess be able to influence games and have that kind of leadership role, which I know Razor in turn likes in his 9s and 10s to be able to have that experience. But then I think also you've got the young people coming through. You've got Cortez Ratsila, who's going to continue to keep evolving with the Chiefs. You've got Folau Fakatava, who's I think one of the better performers in the Highlanders the last couple of weeks, even though they've been struggling. And then you've also got Noah Hotham as well, who's had a great performance on the weekend. I think in turn with Razor and knowing what he wants out of his halfbacks in big games and derby games, when you're playing against the 9s and being able to have good games in those situations, they're going to have a lot of benefit, especially in the back end of the year. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that are putting their hands up, but that's probably how I see it at the moment with the halfbacks at the moment.
So you're saying it would be Finlay Christie starting, TJ Perenara in the mix, and Folau Fakatava as the 3rd option within that squad as it stands?
Sorry, my headphone just went. I'd go, it's either out of a Folau Fakatava, Cortez Ratsila, or a Noah Hotham. Those 3 would be going for the 3rd spot. I think TJ, with what I think is going to happen with him throughout the season, he's that competitive and he'll end up playing some really good footy, and that experience you can't buy. So yeah, that's how I'd have it. You'd have the first 2, Finlay, TJ, and then the other 3 younger guys fighting it out for that 3rd position.
It's a hard one. I think that was Folau Fakatava's best performance for a long time on the weekend. even though I know the Canes were dominant. I definitely would have thought Cam was probably sitting pretty comfortable in his performances to be the starting 9, but off the back of his injuries, and let's be honest, the guy's tough as nails. If he's in pain, something's not quite right. So what I would say is probably, I agree with Bryn in the sense that TJ will have a big he'll have a big role in my understanding, and I suppose just watching his performance against the Rebels, like, man, he's still got it. Like, it's not a gift sort of selection to just have experience. Like, he's a competitor. He's definitely still got it. But I think Finlay, Finlay's probably looking the most set in terms of big minutes starting, similar sort of player to maybe like a Bryn or Aaron Smith or someone like that Razor has liked previously. So I think he's fitting that mold. And then it's that third one is the hard one, because if you go for a TJ, do you go for a like for like, and what probably Flau Whakatawa's very like TJ, or and Cortez Ratama, or you've got Xavier Rowe who's challenging Cortez Ratama pretty strongly as well. So I think there's a lot of discussion and a lot of minutes to be played before that third. If Flau keeps going the way he is, then I think it's his. But if there's I suppose a peak in form for Ratama or Rowe or whatever it may be, then and I suppose actually, I shouldn't ignore Noah Otham. If he gets some big minutes and starts being the main starter, he could really push himself into that side, and he could be the perfect mix for that third spot, because he's got a bit of TJ and he's got a bit of Finlay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Bryn, when you look at what Razor wanted out of you and Drummy and the other halfbacks when you're at the Crusaders, what were the key things? We've obviously had Aaron Smith, a passing halfback more than anything else there for quite a long time. What's Razor's preference in around number 9?
I think with how Cam Roigard was playing, that's, I think, the evolution of what the New Zealand halfback is going to be looking like going into the Rugby World Cup. But to answer your question, Ross, I think for us, because our game wasn't really based around off 9, it was based around how can we get the ball out to Richie and for him to be able to, I guess, influence the game and being able to get out to those kind of parts of the field. Our job was to be able to get the ball out as fast as we could, get the breakdown, owning that with our forwards and be able to get that quick ball, and then let things kind of go out through Richie and the guys that are on the outside. So, I'm not too sure whether Ray wants to have that style. I guess, international rugby is a little bit different, and I think with how it is going, you're going to have a bit of a few strengths in your bow in terms of getting the ball out really quick, which is going to be really crucial. But I think having that influence of like a Roigard and what he was showing at Super Rugby level and what he does very similar to DuPont and being able to have carries and really, I guess, test defense around their hard defense, I think you're going to have a balance there. So it'll be very interesting to see which way Racer goes. But to answer your question, us nines at that time was to get the ball out to Richie as fast as we could and play on top of teams, and then let our playmakers outside of us influence the game and winning games.
Chip, I'm imagining that's the way that Mackenzie likes to play, presuming that Mackenzie would be the starting 10. There's talk about whether Mo'unga will be able to come back and play if they change the rules. But if it was Mackenzie, is that the way you'd see them wanting to play with Mackenzie?
I can't see Razor changing those sorts of big rocks in his philosophy of how to win games of rugby, if that makes sense. So you have to think, then a Finlay and Noah, these players, are probably going to be more in that pecking order. And I don't know if it's Jason Holland who's doing the midfield and Scott Hansen as the halves, but they'll have a big say as well. But it won't just be Razor. I think, is it Scott Hansen, Brunner?
Yep, he's
there'll be sort of yeah. So 9's 10. So his philosophy will be big in that. And if you can see one consistent link of this coaching group, it's him and Razor. So I think that will remain true. So a halfback that's going to get rid of the ball fast and doesn't overplay their own hand running the ball and having the ability to just free up and make time for guys like Damien McKenzie and Curran.
That sounds out Finlay Christie to me as the starting option then, right?
I think so. Currently, on current form.
If you're looking around a like for like with Aaron, Finlay does it really, really well. You look on the weekend, his ability to be able to be there when the ball's ready to go, and sometimes the Blues attack isn't even set because it's how fast he's getting to the ball. But knowing Razor and what Scott Henson and what they want from the Nines in the past being with them. It's been able to get that ball out as fast as you can, and Fele does that to a T. He's also got a great kicking game, which Liam McDonald has had a lot of time with him when it comes back to the contestable games, and defensively as well. His work in and around the breakdown, communication, his tackle and jackal work and being abrasive in that contact area. He has all those traits that all those kind of coaches enjoy. So, yeah, I think Finn's in a really good place, and I think, like we said, TJ has that experience, and then you've got to be, I think, that third role, having that ability to have that game-changing ability with Falau Fakatava, Hotham, of course, there's Ratimi and Xavier Rowe, those guys that have the ability to attack as well. So, yeah, but Finlay Christie, I think, is sitting pretty at the moment.